Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Employment File, where we talk about employment lawsuits. So this one, apply for a new job or get out. Then he got fired. Wrongful termination lawsuit hits employer. Let's talk about this one. So this case was filed in the District Court of New Jersey. And here is the plaintiff, and here is the defendant employer. And this plaintiff is bringing an action against his employer for age discrimination mainly. And then there is some sex discrimination, but mainly age discrimination based on the Age Discrimination in Employment Act and Title VII, Civil Rights Act of 1964, and the New Jersey Law Against Discrimination. So those are the claims that he's asserting it under. And let's talk about the parties reside in New Jersey. The plaintiff is 62 years old, and I think when I read this lawsuit, I mean, it really was really upsetting to me because you'll see that he's a long-term employee and he had applied for a number of positions. They hired younger employees. I mean, the reason is because older employees tend to make more money. They don't want to pay as much. And so they tend to get rid of them. But, the thing with employment lawsuits is it's really not worth much. That's the problem, is that there are caps on damages. As an employee, you have a duty to mitigate, which means that you first of all have to be looking for work, and the longer you're unemployed, the more economic damages you have. So there's a calculation for back pay and front pay. But unfortunately, you have bills to pay. You have a mortgage payment. You have other types of bills to pay that you just can't afford to be unemployed for a couple of years. You have to find a work. And the other thing is, when you file these lawsuits, your name shows up on public record. And now somebody Googles you, you show up as being very litigious. And, you're sort of blacklisted sometimes. So I think a lot of things are working against the employee. That I think it's a real shame that the employer has, they have a cap on damages. They're gonna ask the employee to mitigate. They have a duty to mitigate. The employees have a duty to mitigate. And the settlement, for when you look at the actual settlement, that are publicly available or based on some data, it's really not worth much. I mean, it's about, sometimes most of them settle for $15,000-$20,000, and after taxes, like I said, it's worth $6,000 and between $10,000, maybe $15,000 at most, even less. So, outside of a major blue state, it's very difficult to bring these employment claims. And, sometimes the ones that are really only worth it are like pregnancy discrimination or disability discrimination. I mean, as I talked about in previous videos, racial discrimination is really bad. I mean, it's not, those are not good claims, especially for African Americans. Those get dismissed a lot. I've seen it in when you look at the docket, that motion for summary judgment, they just throw it out. And we don't know what's going to happen to this case. It was just recently filed on the 23rd, May 23rd, 2025. Okay, let's just read through this and just, we'll see what we can learn from this. Okay, the jurisdiction, New Jersey. Okay, so you do have, the other thing the employee have to do is that you have to file with the EEOC within a certain number of days. And if you don't file with the EEOC a certain number of days, you can't bring any claims. You don't get the right to sue letter. So here he did February 5th, 2025, plaintiff filed a complaint with the EEOC complaining of the acts of discrimination. And looks like they did receive right to sue letter. Okay, so let's just talk about the factual allegation. So he was hired in October of 1994. I mean, this guy is a long-term employee. right? So obviously he's been getting raises, probably making pretty good money. So I think 1994 with the one employer. I mean that that says a lot about this lawsuit. And like I said, it was upsetting when I was reading this. And he held the position of a program manager, program staff specialist at a level 4. He reported to this individual, a female in her 40s, and he consistently demonstrated positive performance. So, one thing you want to ask an employee, if you're an employee, is like, hey, before you made all these allegations, how was your performance? But here it looked like he did have positive performance. And then October 2023, he began directly reporting to that the manager. And then, so this manager had no role in plaintiff being hired. Sometimes I feel that when managers did not hire you and you're starting to report to them, sometimes you get the sense that since they didn't hire you, they don't consider you their people, and oftentimes they want to bring in somebody that they like or they know, and now you're sort of somebody who's been who they have to manage, and sometimes they don't want to do that. And I don't know the reason why, but I've seen that a lot of times, right? Where especially you get a new manager, and sometimes things go really south. And I think I question whether that has happened here. We have a new manager, and whether they wanted to bring their own people, but it does look like I guess he reported to somebody else previously, and now I guess in 2023 he started reporting to a new manager. And you wonder if there was some kind of a conflict between him and the manager. A lot of times, people don't really stay with the organizations. They stay because of the manager. If the manager is really bad, they treat you poorly, you sort of see the writing on the wall that they don't like you for whatever reason. They want to bring their own people. I mean, you tend to leave those organizations. I mean, that's people leave organizations because of managers, not necessarily because of the organization itself. Okay, so in a meeting in May of 2024, its manager stated that 3 program manager positions, including plaintiff's position, would be eliminated and consolidated into one position. So, oh man, that is bad. Now you're going to have to they're going to ask him to apply for the position to stay on. I mean, that's a move that these employers make often, to say, oh, we're going to reorganize, we are going to consolidate. I mean, let's read through it. And then the manager said the plaintiff needed to apply for posted positions if he wanted to remain employed. Wow, what a shitty move, right? In addition to plaintiff position, the positions of other individuals, look at the age, 64, under male 58, were being eliminated and consolidated into one position. Now they're going to have to apply for these other positions, and the defendant eliminated plaintiff's position because of his age and or his sex. So on or about June 2024, he applied for the posted position. He was qualified for it. In 2024, plaintiff applied for another position. He was qualified for it. In June, it looks like the same day, he applied for another position. He was qualified for it. It's a program management associate. Well, he keeps applying for work. He wants to work. June 2026, he applied for another Asia Regional System Security Associate Program Manager. He was qualified for it. And then I guess maybe almost a month later, he was reviewing the online portal, and they didn't select him for one of the positions, Spain's Deputy Associate Program Manager. He didn't receive any explanation as to why he was not selected. The thing is, employers are not required to do that. I mean, keep in mind, if you were terminated, they're not really required to tell you why you were terminated. Just from my opinion, right? From my experience. Instead of selecting the plaintiff, they selected somebody else that's much younger. Look at the age, 34. He's in his 60s. And again, when it comes to these types of discrimination claims, a lot of it's about comparison, how you were treated outside of your protected class. So age is a protected class. Age over 40 is a protected class, and how you were treated compared to younger employees, right? So we're going to read a lot about comparison to younger employees. So he was qualified for this position, and compared to a substantially younger employee who was selected instead of him. So you're going to keep seeing this pattern where they're going to keep hiring people that have less experience, or at least allegedly from this complaint, that are younger employees. Okay. And during a phone call with a senior manager, they failed to select him for the Japan program manager. They didn't explain to him why. They're not required to. Okay, he was not selected for a position with international programs. They didn't give any explanation. Instead, they selected another female that is 45. So remember the comparison. He's more qualified. They're younger, substantially younger, and they select the younger employee. And also, let's see what else. In reviewing the application, they failed to select him for the Asia Region System Security Manager, and instead they selected somebody that's 26 years old for that position, much younger. So so the comparative analysis, right, where they're selecting younger employees. He didn't get another position. They hired somebody that's 27 for the Australia Senior Program Manager. And I wonder, these people that are younger that's being hired, do they know somebody? How are these people getting jobs in this economy where, I don't know, maybe they know somebody in the organization and then, they're terminated. He's terminated October 1st, 2024. And the stated reason is reorganization, right? So remember, they said that they're going to reorganize and he has to apply for these positions. They're eliminating positions. I mean, you just wonder what really transpired for the manager to pull that kind of a shitty move. Sometimes it's just they just don't like you. They want to bring their own people in. Sometimes it's really about money in the budget, right? This guy's been there a very long time. He's probably making a decent amount of money, and now they don't want to pay that kind of money, and they just, it's a sad situation where the employees don't have much rights. It's an at-will employment, right? And so they can fire you for any reason, no reason. That's not discrimination. I mean, here they're claiming that it is discrimination based on age, and that comparatively they hired younger employees. So here, I guess he applied to different positions. They hired a female that is 37. He's more qualified, and then this person is substantially younger, female employee who was hired. He again applied for, and this guy wants to work. He keeps applying for positions, and he received no explanation as to why he was not selected. And then these are some of the employees that reported directly to that manager. And as you can see, he was the second oldest employee reporting to that manager. And then they terminated another male who was 64 and another male who was 58. And then they assigned the job responsibility to a female that's 45. So you can see that, he's in his 60s, and they assigned these duties to much younger employees, at least allegedly, from reading the complaint, that doesn't have much of an experience. It's pretty interesting to read through this. I mean, it's pretty. So obviously, let's just quickly look at what the counts are. Title VII. and also ADA, the age discrimination, and and the New Jersey Discrimination Act. Yeah, and they're seeking damages, but like I said, most employment lawsuits, the problem is that it's really set up against the employee. You have to file the EEO complaint within a certain number. If you don't, you get kicked out. Meaning you cannot bring a lawsuit. And also, there's a duty to mitigate. You have to be looking for work, and if you're not, and also any type of compensation you get, it's actually deducted, right, during the calculation for back pay and front pay. And the average settlement, when you look at the data outside of a major blue state, is $15,000 to $20,000. I think. I mean, that's what the data shows. So it's not. It's very different than personal injury. So glad to talk to you about this. So if you like this, subscribe. So I know to keep making videos about these types of things that employers pull, and just reading the latest employment lawsuits. Well, thank you very much for listening for today. Thanks. Bye bye.